Hey Natural Dolls and Divas, Daphne T. And in celebration of hitting my 9 months post Big Chop, I decided to do a more informative video for you guys. I know a lot of you, I've got generally good responses from the last 2 informative videos that I did, so I figured why not do another one. And you know, in remembrance of the Big Chop, why not put some thought into it? So I'm going to be doing some tips on what helped me in my natural hair journey as well as my transitioning journey, because a lot of you don't know that I did transition for 6 months before doing my Big Chop. A lot of it came with just me being, you know, physically ready to do the Big Chop. And I feel a lot of naturals, when they do the Big Chop, they don't feel ready. They just feel more pressured because, you know, dealing with the 2 textures at times can be difficult. And if you don't have, you know, an idea of what to do as far as transitioning styles, it just is a big headache. My problem with me wasn't really, you know, styling or anything like that. Actually, I can't lie, it was styling. Prior to doing my Big Chop or going natural or transitioning, I really didn't, you know, mess with my hair. My hair was, you know, professionally done. I did, you know, full head weaves and braids and just never really dealt with my real hair. And so when it came to, you know, the natural journey and, you know, trying to perfect natural and transitioning styles, it was harder for me because I never really dabbled in doing my hair. So that pretty much was a reason why I just did the Big Chop and said, you know, forget it and just go with it. But I feel a lot of people are not necessarily, you know, 100% ready when they do the Big Chop, and, you know, that can be one of the reasons. So I'm going to give you guys a few tips on, you know, surviving the struggle of transitioning when you set out a certain goal. For me, my goal was to transition for as long as possible. I had a goal of 1 year to 2 years to do so, but I never really reached even, you know, a year. After 6 months, I just Big Chopped. For me, it wasn't really, you know, a shell shock, because when I did my Big Chop and while I was getting my hair cut, it really didn't bother me. I didn't cry. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't, you know, as, you know, over emotional as many other divas are when they do cut their hair. For me, hair is just hair. I feel it grows back. If I decide tomorrow to, you know, start all over my journey for whatever reason, it won't bother me because I know it's hair and it will grow. I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that I'm so used to cutting my hair. I've had so many different styles versus before letting my hair grow out, and then, you know, in my hairdresser's words, going crazy and cutting my hair. She wasn't really too happy, but that's another story. When I first started transitioning, my relaxed hair reached about right here around my chin. And I would say like I had not really a bob style, but more of my hair was just layered thin and it just stopped here. And the back stopped back here. So you can say it was like a bob, but it wasn't, you know, intentionally a bob. My hair just fell that way. The thing with me is I really didn't grow out my hair till about 3 years ago. Meaning that I really didn't take as much care as I should until 3 years ago. I started getting my first weave in 2001, around 2001. Before that, prior to that, I was just strictly braids, and I would take them out, grease my scalp, and things like that. So when I started doing my full head weaves, which was in high school, I really didn't really care for my hair. I just known that I did my shampoo every 2 weeks, and I left my my weaves for 4 to 5 weeks, and took them out and redid it. So when I finally decided to grow my hair after I graduated high school in 2005, I started, you know, really getting the regimen the way I wanted to, meaning I, you know, deep conditioned my hair, you know, trimmed regularly, stayed away from heat. My hair, like, unintentionally for I think like 1.5 years, I didn't get a relaxer, and I transitioned my hair, but I didn't know anything about, you know, going natural. So after 1.5 years, so that's when my length stayed here. A good way for, you know, a person who wants to transition is to, you know, before, you know, stopping the perm altogether, get familiar with your hair texture, get familiar with your hair. A lot of people don't do their hair, they go to professionals. So when it's time for you to try to, you know, work your hair into a, you know, a presentable style, you have no idea. So I would inform you to just get familiar with your hair. By getting familiar with your hair, you'll have a general idea of, you know, what it will be like to stretch styles out for the week. If you do roller sets, braid outs, bantu-knot outs, twist outs, whatever you do. When you have a lot more relaxed ends than natural hair, I would suggest doing more of, braided styles. Braided styles can be, box braids, cornrows, or you can do roller sets. Roller sets are a great way to hide the two textures and mask the two textures. So roller sets will be, a key thing. Another thing I would suggest after doing, roller sets and things like that is to just basically, cut off your relaxed ends to the point when you feel comfortable. If you feel after 2 months and you haven't done a trim, you want to do a trim, you can do it. But gradually work your way into it. It's no use in holding on to your relaxed ends when eventually your main goal is to cut them off. So gradually do it, but don't procrastinate into doing it, because you'll get so happy when you see, all this, new growth, and then you have long relaxed ends. That's probably, shoulder length or bra strap length, but you haven't really cut it because you are so used to just holding on to it. Just gradually cut it off. Be familiar with it. Be conscious with your decision. And once you do it, you'll feel so much better. For me, it was really not a big deal. I didn't do any mini chops. I did more of, letting it grow out. After 3 months, cut. Another 3 months, I did the big chop. So it wasn't really no transitions for me. I just did a little cut and then I did the big chop. My next thing would be, get familiar with products. Don't be so much of a product junkie, because the things that you use when you transition, you might not use when you're natural. For me, the one thing that I have stayed using since being transitioning and now being natural, actually is 2 things. My Cantu Shea Butter Leave-In I've been using since transitioning and I still use now. And I've been using my Herbal Essence Hello Hydration. Those are the two staple products that I am continually using, and I have not, had any bad experience with. So I would say, research your products, find out what works for you. Usually when you transition, you have no idea what your hair type is, so you can't really go by somebody saying, I have 4A type of hair and this product works for me. You have to basically, get into the, swing of things. And, join the natural hair group. A lot of them have product swaps. What you can basically do is get products that you no longer use, swap it with others, and it's a great way for you to, basically try different products versus buying it. I have been to a bunch of product swaps, and I have generally a lot of things I don't use anymore. So it's a great way to, get an idea of it and switch with other naturals before buying it. Another thing is, when you do the big chop, when you finally feel you are ready to do the big chop, just have the emotional state and be ready for it. There's a lot of people who go and, say, I'm going to do the big chop, and once they're in the chair and they see the scissors, they freak out. For me, it's more of generally being, mentally prepared versus physically prepared to do it. When I woke up and did the big chop, which was November 17th, I woke up with the intention of cutting my hair. I don't know, many of you probably think that's crazy, but when I woke up that morning, I had this curly weave in my hair, and I had it for maybe a month. And I looked at my husband and I told him I'm ready. And he looked at me and he said, you're ready for what? I said, I'm ready to cut my hair. I've had enough. And he said, are you sure? And I said, I am positive. And that morning I woke up, started cutting my weave out, and I had him help me. And the one mistake I did was letting him help me, because he ended up cutting a big chunk. It's actually growing now around this area. He cut this area like about here. So when I was taking, the braids out, it was terrible. I had like a big chunk of hair that was cut. But I really didn't mind, because I knew it was going to get cut anyway. But, I woke up with the intention of cutting it. My second advice would be to, if you're going to do your big chop, go to a barbershop. Simple. Go to a barbershop. Some ladies can do, big chops and do it the way you want it, but a lot of them, will probably try to talk you out to doing a big chop. Will probably want you to do a mini chop. Not all of them, but most of them did. My hairdresser, she's not really my hairdresser, but the person who did my big chop tried to talk me out of doing the big chop and said to do in 2 sessions. And she ended up doing a bad job. Meaning, I have to cut my hair eventually, but she did shorter sides here, longer here, and everything was uneven. I say go to a barbershop because all they do is work with cutting hair and everything. If I had really sat down and thought about, okay, let me just let my husband cut my hair because he's a barber, I probably would have more of a length than I have now. But I'm happy. I'm not going to get into that. But I would say if you're going to do a female, research her, find out if she's done big chops before. And also, you know, your best bet may just be just getting a barber to do it. My next thing for transitioning divas is to make sure you have a wide tooth comb for detangling. And you know, a lot of people don't like to shampoo as much. I co-washed a lot when I was transitioning, but you know, just work for yourself. Don't have a set regimen as of yet when you first transition, because things change. You know, products don't agree with your hair after a while, and you may want to, you know, switch. So that would be a good thing. Another thing is, you know, if you do decide to do your big chop, make sure that you inform your family and friends, because you may get generally bad, you know, responses that may deter you from wanting to do your big chop. When I first did my big chop, my biggest, you know, support system was my husband, and the person who hated it the most was my mother. She hated my hair. She went on a rampage for, you know, I think maybe an hour or two, and she basically didn't understand why I cut all my hair. I had all this long hair, this pretty hair, and you know, she said some hurtful things. And as my hair generally grew, and it grew to the length where she was comfortable with, she actually said, you know what, when I first seen your hair, I was initially shocked, and I apologize for that, but now I do love your hair, and I think you're doing a good job. So that was a big thing. But you know, just basically let your family and friends know, because a lot of them won't be used to seeing you with shorter hair. Or if you know, decide to go, you know, all out and not even transition, and you just go really short, really low, like a Caesar skin fade or whatever you may decide to do, they may not be comfortable with seeing it. So just make sure that you inform them before, you know, generally doing anything. And my last suggestion is, make sure when you do decide to go natural, you do it for yourself. And don't necessarily see somebody's hair journey and think, you know, that's the goal that you should reach. Everybody's different. Everybody, even though you grow your hair the same, you know, rate per month, some people do more protective styles than others, and you'll see the length. Me, I really haven't done much protective styling. The most I'll do is a twist out that I'll leave for a week, and that'll be just the less manipulation for my hair. But you know, at night I do twist it up to not leave it, you know, just hanging out. I twist certain sections at night, and at other nights I do the pin up method, which I just take it, roll it back, and just pin it to just keep it, you know, secure and more defined. But just, you know, don't go by somebody's hair and think your hair is supposed to be that way, because that will only deter you from wanting to grow it out. So just make sure that you know, if you want to set a goal, you can set a goal, but your overall should be to just have healthy hair, period. And I just want to give one more, and then I promise you guys I'm done. My last thing is, if you decide that you want to do a color when you first big chop, I say go for it. Just make sure you just maintain it the way you would do anything. I have done a color since my big chop. I big chopped November, I did my color December, and I refreshed it late January, early February, and I have not had any problems. I've just made sure that I have, you know, been determined to make sure my hair is, you know, thoroughly moisturized, and I do my deep conditioners, hot oil treatments weekly. So, you know, don't, you know, sway away from wanting to color treat your hair or color your hair because you hear negative things or you hear people tell you otherwise. I think when you do the big chop, it's for you to have fun with it. You know, you don't have that much hair when you do the big chop, so adding a little splash of color will, you know, be the one that determines for you to thoroughly enjoy it. So I would say go for it. That's about all. You know, I'll probably come up with some more tips and maybe do a part 2 or something like that, but I want to give you guys some generally good tips, so I won't really be rambling as much. So, you know, enjoy your day, stay natural, stay blessed, and don't let anybody tell you that natural is not a thing for you to do.